creating a human-centric HR strategy. And for the same, I would like to introduce the speaker. Miss Sonica Aron is the founder and CEO of MarchingSheep, an HR consulting firm specializing in strategic HR advisory, diversity, and inclusion intervention, employee health and wellness, and bespoke capability building interventions. In the past 10 years, Marching Sheep has gone from strength to strength under the leadership of Sonica. From a single woman army to a team of passionate HR consultants. From presence in one city to not just delivering high impact HR solutions pan India, but in more than 80 countries across the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a huge round of applause for Miss Sonica Aron, CEO, Marching Sheep.
Thank you. And clicker? The green one? Okay. So, naam to suna hi hoga? All right. So, let's have some fun. How many of you had dessert for lunch? Raise your hands. Baba Ramdev. Hi. Touch the sky. Very good. How many of you, and this time raise the left hand, if you raised the right hand last time. How many of you had the brownie? And how many of you had the brownie with ice cream? Now this time stand. Okay. And rasmalai? So let's do a jig. All those who had rasmalai. Jig. So now are you ready to have some fun, some HR fun? Khane ka fun ho gaya, ab HR fun? Good. Okay, creating a human-centric strategy. You know, we like to explain everything with case studies because that makes everything real and relevant. So that is what I'm going to do. I think this she's already spoken about, so I'll skip. This we've been speaking about since morning, so I will skip. I am going to speak about a problem statement that a client came to us with, okay? Now, again, I will refer to what Amit Chincholikar spoke in the morning, that anything that HR does is supposed to solve a business problem. And business came with a problem saying that, you know, our leadership is really committed to diversity. We have a diversity vision on our website. We've been hiring women. We have women in all our departments, but our women workforce is leaving. Our attrition in women is higher than the rate at which we are able to attract women. Why is that happening? We are not able to understand. We've spoken to them, we have policies, we have good leaders, we have good managers, but we are not able to understand. So that is where we came in and we said, okay, we will do what we always do, which is consultative work. Now, in our experience over the last few years, we've understood one basic concept. And that is what I'm going to share with all of you. Very often, there is something which is called commitment to culture, right? And just like there is a distance, you know, there is a gap between the, you know, lip and the cup. There is a mismatch between what is the articulated commitment by the leadership and what people see on ground. How are people experiencing an organization every day when they come to work? How are they experiencing an organization when they return after maternity leave? How are they experiencing an organization when they are being forced to sit back late because their manager believes that sitting back late is a show of productivity and commitment? We are very committed to diversity and inclusion because we are hiring women. So there was a mismatch. And the second thing that we saw was the strategic focus. Whether this entire piece about integrating D&I was a day-to-day thing, or was it actually integrated in the long-term business strategy? Did people really see, did the leadership really see how it made a difference to business, to dhanda, to paisa? Or was it still a good thing to do because everybody else is doing, everybody is releasing their annual global D&I reports, तो हमको भी निकालनी है तो हम भी कर देते हैं? Right? So when we map this, any organization here, we often find that the kind of problem statements that I showed you on the earlier slide, many times we find organizations either in the floundering quadrant or in the questioning quadrant or the challenging quadrant, because somewhere either there is a mismatch or people are looking at it from a short-termist view, or they are just not looking at it in a holistic manner. So then we said, what do we do? So this is the process that we followed. We started with a diagnostic, okay? Now, a diagnostic can happen in many forms. And for every client organization, it takes a different form. If it's an IT organization, a manufacturing organization, a global organization with 20,000 people spread across the globe, a small organization with 150 people sitting in one place, it can mean very different things. It can mean from a survey to one-to-one interviews, to FGDs and whatnot. But essentially, a diagnostic has three elements: employee speak, manager and leadership speak, and a policy and practice audit. After doing that, we get to know whether we are actually speaking what we are or doing what we are saying. Are we even close to the thriving bucket quadrant? How do we get there? What are the gaps? Very often organizations, when they ask us to do research, they say, tell us the best practices which are happening in my industry. And my pushback to them is, why your industry? Ab wo din gaye, where you want to only look at कि मेरी industry में क्या हो रहा है. When you are looking at somebody doing digital marketing, do you only hire people from your own industry? You don't. You look for the skill set. When you look for an HR or a finance professional, or you look for somebody who can do B2B sales, very often we look for people from outside industry as well. That industry barrier seems to be breaking down. Today, we need to look at not just industry best practices, we need to look at best practices by life stages, by the kind of people we have in the organization. If 52% of our workforce today are zillennials and millennials and likely to go up to 70% by 2025, and Generation X will slowly get edged out, which means older millennials are going to take leadership roles. What does it mean from a long-term perspective? So from that perspective, we start doing a lot of our recommendations. When we do our recommendations, we take alignment of the senior leadership, and we start doing the implementation and the changes and the modifications in the policies, processes, etc. Then comes the change management. Change management includes communication and capability building. I spoke about in the morning about building capability of managers. Now that is linked to what we have done so far. Many of us have probably joined at a time, at least some of the speakers, जब एक मूवी रिलीज हुई थी सलमान खान की साजन, उसमें एक डायलॉग था, काम ही मेरी पूजा है, पूजा ही मेरा काम है. और हम ऐसा ही मानते थे. आज की जनरेशन ऐसा नहीं मानती. उस समय एक और ट्रेनिंग होती थी, बी द बुलेट प्रूफ मैनेजर. द मैनेजर नोज इट ऑल, मैनेजर इज ऑलवेज राइट. आज के एम्प्लॉयज ऐसा भी नहीं मानते. So today, the entire leadership imperatives have changed. Today, people want their managers to be approachable, vulnerable, empathetic. They want their managers to be their allies in their growth journey, in their learning journey. They want their managers to understand what does success mean to them both on the personal and professional level. Does a manager even ask in the morning or in the evening before asking कि धंधा कितना हुआ, कभी ये पूछा है कि आज का दिन कैसा गया, how are you feeling? उसको यही नहीं पता होगा how is he feeling or she feeling, right? So this capability needs to be built, whether we like it or not. Managerial capability is possibly the most important capability that a lot of organizations are investing in today. And it is key to organizational success. Then we start working on capability of employees. End of the day, employees also need to be ready to deal with the bunny world. Nobody's career is a straight line. There are always peaks and troughs. So managing stress, the ability to stretch, the ability to show accountability, the ability to show commitment, nothing comes on a platter served. So all of this needs to be done. How do you do that? How do you create a communication program within the organization, integrating everything? So this is the model that we followed with this organization. Now what were the results? First of all, when we shared the results with the leaders, उनको तो सदमा लग गया कि ऐसा भी होता है. उन्होंने हमें क्यों नहीं बताया? You know, a lot of times people feel, we are doing employee engagement surveys, we are doing pulse surveys, why aren't people telling us? I meet the employees every day, why couldn't she have told me? Now the question to ask is, have you created an environment where an employee can tell you? Have you ever created a structure or even a setting where an employee can walk up and speak with you? So that is where this process is important with someone who can enable it. So that is when this started, and over a period of 6 months, we slowed down the attrition, we made changes in the policies, we corrected a lot of processes, we were able to show an increase in attraction and an improvement in the employer value proposition, and we made a lot of change in the way women were speaking about the organization. Because we did a dipstick after 3 months, we did a dipstick after 6 months, we did a dipstick after 9 months, and then we slowly moved away, giving the baton to the organization HR. So that is what we did. This is some data about what was the functional bifurcation, the methodology. Some of the findings, they were around maternity. The one I spoke about in the morning, rewards and recognition, not speaking to performance management, peer support and bias, career progression, functional disparity. this part was very interesting because when I was sharing our findings with the top leadership, the mindset of the leadership, changing their mindset from what was articulated and visible to what was not visible but impacting their employees. And that needs to be addressed. So this one, the relationships, the values, the norms, the attitudes, that how do you address and correct it in a systemic, sustained manner for you to have a long-term impact? That needed the leadership buy-in. Okay, these were some of the solutions which I have already spoken about. Now, coming to the final, this thing. Diversity, or if you look at your employees within your organization, today your workforce is extremely diverse. You have a multi-generational workforce. There are people, both men, women. There would be people from the LGBTQ community. You might have people who might be carrying disabilities but might not have disclosed. I, for example, had a team member who had dyslexia, and she told me 3 months after she had joined my team. There are people from different ethnicities, different cultures, different races, different religions, veteran status, thought processes, educational backgrounds, and a lot more. How do you build a culture of belonging which drives productivity? So there is company inclusion, leadership speak, managerial capability, processes and policies. That is what is visible. What is not visible is what is happening at the team level. The psychological safety balanced with accountability and the individual buy-in. And then the fundamental engagements of driver, which everyone wants, leading to the outcome. End of the day, we want our people to really love our company. You know, somebody once told me something very interesting. Very recently also somebody told me something very interesting. He said that, you know, be kind, don't be nice. It is very easy to be Missy Good Two Shoes or whatever the statement is, and keep doing things that everybody thinks is very nice to do. But being kind means doing the right thing, even if it puts some people's nose out of joint. Because doing the right thing will give you long-term leverage with your employees, with your stakeholders. So this is all about doing the right thing. And with that, I come to the end of what I had to say. Any questions? Happy to answer. No questions. Sadma.
So we have time for question. All right, ma'am, requesting you to kindly stay on stage, and I would request Ganeshan P, Senior Vice President, Human Resources and Administration, People Interactive, to kindly join us on stage for felicitation. Kindly felicitate Ms. Sonica Aron for the wonderful session. Everybody, can we have a huge round of applause for Ms. Sonica Aron?